Hi, we are going to now talk about chapter 12, which is about product and promotion. So a product itself is something that can satisfy any type of need that we have. All right. So if you're thirsty, you get something to drink. If you're hungry, you get something to eat. If you're stuck on a project, you get help to help you get through that project. So it's a product of something you want, but we're going to talk the difference about products and services here in a couple of minutes. So in regards to services, there can be intangible. So it could be like exchange of knowledge, something you really can't put a value to. Perishability, something that is timely, something that could be used only for a certain amount of time until it expires or until it gets too old and the data is not good anymore. So you see this graph here about the difference between pure goods and pure services. So a good itself is something again that we can use. The great example here is about the bottle of ketchup. If you go to the other side about pure lessons or pure services, you see the piano lessons. You put guitar lessons in there. Um, Writing, getting consultation for writing a paper, getting help for writing a dissertation. Excuse me. That would be an example of a service. Right. So the product itself, so what's the benefit? What is it that is satisfying the need of that customer? Excuse me. And then the augmented product is something that enhances the product that will give you a better idea of how that product is used. And as you see here about giving the competitive edge, what can we do to make that product better, to make it more attractive to the customer? Consumer products themselves is what we buy for personal consumption. Again, I talked about food, talking about drink, cars, for example. That would be an example of consumer product. Now, for business products, that is where we buy a product that is used to directly or indirectly to help the final product that that business is producing. Okay, so you go out and you buy a hammer, and you are hammering 2x4s to build a house, or you put shingles on a roof. All right, so that hammer would be a product to help it with its final product that it's trying to sell or deliver. Differentiation. Oh my goodness, there's so much we can talk about this. But as I mentioned to you in chapter 11, this is a survey, and we're going to just talk about a few things at a high level. When you get into marketing, you'll go into this much, much deeper. But differentiation is, what makes you different? What is the product? Is it a flavor? Is it a secret formula? Like KFC always talks about their herbs and spices. Coke has a secret formula. How does Pepsi do their product? So that's a differentiation. One of the things is the quality level. Um, some industries will have high quality standards. They will they'll adhere to a product and how it should be. Other industries, not as much. They come close, but it's not. It could be better, but it's what the customer's looking for, what the customer's paying for. Okay, so there's that big stipulation there. All right, so now we look at the features and benefits of the product. So how does this serve us? What good does it do for us? And the benefit that you look at this is, what do we gain? If I buy this product, what am I gaining from it? And so that's what you as a marketer have to convey is what is that consumer going to get out of buying our product? And you tell them that. So we got the product lines, product mix. So let's talk about a product line first. Excuse me. A lot of products that are related to each other. Cookies, for example. So if you go to if you sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. You go to the grocery store, go to Walmart, Target, wherever you go buy your groceries, and you'll see like there'll be cookies, chocolate chip, Nutter Butter, the best cookie ever. You may have Oreos, which some are arguing that might be the best cookie ever. But you'll see this product line there. The product mix is this. So like Keebler, for example, they would buy they would make chocolate chip cookies. They would make let's try to think of the cookies they make. Let's just say argument's sake, they make peanut butter cookies and they also make snickerdoodles, just for argument's sake. All right, so that's a product mix for Keebler. All right, so the product line is the cookies and what type of cookies can be done. Product mix is what the organization makes. Branding. I want to focus on brand name. Question for you. What is in a name? The answer is everything. Everything is in a name. It's your identity. It's who you are. It's the quality of the product. Everything goes into that name. And you have to live up to that. You have to live up to that name when you are selling your product. People recognize the name, they recognize a trusted brand, they're going to take that product. If the quality happens to slide, or if there's some a little bit differences from place to place, that will be detrimental to your brand. Okay. Licensing. What this is just you can have someone else sell your product for you. Someone else use your brand name. We don't see this too often in regards to products. You'll see a little bit when we get together, where two brands get together, we co-brand. You'll see that, but you don't see a lot of licensing. Co-branding, we just talked about. This is where competitors join. So, not competitors, but different companies join. So, for example, you may have Tide detergent with Oxy. So you'll see Tide, you'll see the Oxy logo, and they put together and make this detergent. So that's an example of co-branding. National brands, Coke, Pepsi, Frito-Lay chips. The store brands are the generics. The store, for Walmart's Dr. Thunder. Excuse me. For Walmart's Dr. Thunder, and they have their own potato chip as well, the Great Value chip. So that would be an example of a store brand. So packaging. Packaging, especially with younger children, make a big difference. You want these bright colors for younger, if you take a look at like Captain Crunch, it's in a bright yellow, and then the Captain's in a blue that just pops off the box. And so it's really going to attract the kids. Trix with their reddish, with their white rabbit, Trix are for kids. That is, that's another example. And, we talked about Nutter Butters being the best cookie ever. Best cereal ever was Lucky Charms, hands down. And so you got the leprechaun, the green hat off a red background. So it attracts kids. And so what this packaging should tell you is what the product is, what's in the product. All right. So the product information, cereal, sugar, of course, but in other products, maybe you're buying ketchup, or maybe you're buying barbecue sauce. You want to know what's in that. In regards to attracts the buyer, we talked about that with the kids. Suggested product use, some examples you could do, like Lucky Charms, obviously you can have it for breakfast, you can have it for dinner, have it as a dry snack, put it in a bowl, just have it as a dry snack. So there's ways that you can tell people to use your product other than just the obvious, hey, it's a breakfast cereal. So that suggested product use comes in quite handy. So there's a couple of things here in terms of innovation, and we're going to talk about the product life cycle here in a couple seconds. The discontinuous innovation, that is something that is just totally new. You're blowing something up and changing it. The example is New Coke. New Coke back in 1985, they developed a product, or Coca-Cola developed New Coke, got rid of Coca-Cola, the old formula. It was a disaster. And that's why it lasts like a year, 2 years. They brought back the old Coke. And that's why I saw Coca-Cola Classic on the cans for such a long time. It's because people were still thinking, hey, it's a new Coke, but it was Coca-Cola Classic. I don't think they use Classic anymore. I think people are now figured out it's just regular Coke. But the discontinuous innovation is where there's a dramatic change in the product. Now, in regards to new product, we look at the idea generation. We got to start somewhere, and then you throw ideas out. So screening, are people going to like it? We do our analysis based upon what people agree or disagree with our product, and then if they like it, we develop it. And then you see further here, we've talked to people already. Let's go back to them and see if they actually like the product. It sounds like a good idea, what they think, and if it goes well, and if the research is saying, hey, you know what, this might work, then we commercialize it. But it all starts with the idea. And this process here can take anywhere from a year, 2 years. It depends upon the product. It depends upon how much information it is. And it also depends upon what the final use of that product is. So there's a lot of things that are going on with this. Now, we look at this adoption, and there's different forms. And we're going to take a look at a graph very soon, talking about early adopters, and what those are people who are first to market to use something. Laggards are the ones who just like, I'll think about it, but I might wait and we'll see what other people happen. And you'll see most adopters fall in between the two. You don't want to be a laggard, all right? You don't want to be that because by the time you buy something, people are already working on the next generation or the next. So be careful about this. You want to be that first adopter if you can, if you can afford it, the risk takers. You will learn more in a first adopter than a risk taker than you will in a laggard anytime. Trust me on that one. Because I had the opportunity to work at a facility. We had the world's first digital sheet fed press and the world's first digital proofer. It was amazing. And we were probably about 7, 8 years ahead of many other people around our area and in our region for that matter because of technology. And so be able to learn about that, be able to work with that really increased me and helped me for my career. All right. So in regards to diffusion rates, you look at this and the triability. Can people use it? Is it pretty easy to use? Is it easy to get to? Complexity. Can people understand what we're doing? When it comes to cars, I barely can put gas into the car. I can't do much else with it. Well, at least I can put gas in the car. If it's easy to do, I can run it. So that's complexity. I know it's a weird example, but you get the idea. This is what I want to talk to you about was the product life cycle. And you can see the sine wave. All right. Now, when you take a look at the lower left with introduction, this is your risk takers and early adopters, okay? This is also known as like an embryonic. And these are where the products come first. And you go up, 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 up. And if you see the second arrow from the center, it starts under sales. Where that arrow is, that's your laggards. And you can see how the people in the embryonic and even the growth are so far ahead of the laggards. And then so the laggards are buying something that's new to them. Well, it's going to be old to the industry soon. So you need to be really careful here because you may not have the current technology that other people are looking for. So be careful with that. All right, promoting a product. So we look at this, say, how do we get our message across? No, we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. The idea about danger or opportunity. Well, it depends how you do it. If you're looking at something that's, hey, this is my product, this is what we're gonna do, come to the store, try it out, that's perfect. That's no problem. But what if you do something based on a QR code and it doesn't work? Now you're in the danger zone because people try this product and now they're not looking at it anymore. They're like, well, we tried, it's not there. So we're not going to worry about it. So there's things you got to worry about. And the key here is going back to what we talked about in chapter 11 is reaching the right target audience. We have to reach the right audience at the right time and tell them what they want to hear. Have them generate an interest and a buzz about our product. In regards to this integrated marketing communication, different promotional materials. So, but the message and the color scheme, everything has to be the same. So if you see something on a website, the color scheme, the messaging, it should match print. It should match what you see in TV. So all these should relate together. Also, if you have an ad for like Spotify and you hear an ad, let's say Kohl's, for example. Kohl's runs an ad on Spotify. They're going to tell you the exact same message that you would read in the ad on their website or on a web page or in a print ad. So everything has to be consistent. Now, obviously in Spotify, you can't do the color, but you get the point though. It's all about the messaging and it has to be consistent. All right, a positioning statement. This is kind of interesting because this tells you where you think you're going to be in relative competition. You may have a competitor who has a really strong product and they have a high-end product. Maybe you don't want to compete with them. Your position is that you want to compete with someone that has a lower budget that wants to buy your product, a good product, doesn't have the bells and whistles as your competitor, but it's something that they might find and they may use and may find it to be successful. Then that's your positioning statement. That's where you want to be in regards to that space. All right. And so this idea of the creative department leads to big ideas. Yeah, that's true. But then remember the big idea, and we saw this a few slides ago, it goes through the ideas, then it goes through the testing or the talking to people, the testing, and finally the commercialization. So it could take a long time. And these big ideas may not even get off the ground. Again, people may say, no, we're not interested. And then it's back to the drawing board. So just because it's a big idea doesn't mean it's going to work. So promotion channels, we look at these. So you can see in the here how we get things out. Direct marketing, that could be through mail flyers, that could be through email, text. We could take a look at what what websites you go to, try to get the click-throughs. So these are things, the personal selling. Unfortunately, we still get these nasty phone calls. Hey, this is, I think in the last month, I've probably got at least 15 to 20 calls saying, this is the tax service and we're here to help you. I don't need help with taxes. I don't know why they're calling, but they keep calling. They're trying to do this personal selling. All right. So anyway, you get the idea about the different types of promotion channels. Internet minting movies, you can do something on YouTube. Or you could do something in Snap or Insta where you can get this. And we're seeing now TikTok really, really taking hold in terms of advertising. So there's lots of things we can do here. And you see this this point down the bottom, consumers show less tolerance for impersonal corporate communication. Absolutely. The phone calls, the direct marketer phone calls, and then the like the flyers and that, and the pesky ads when you watch YouTube videos or whatever type of video, that's a turn off to people. So we look at the promotion mix here, and I'm not going to go over each one of these. We talked about this. So in regards to sponsorships, if you want to support a golf tournament, for example, Pfizer Forum, Pfizer bought the naming rights to the Bucks Arena. That's a form of sponsorship. Social media we've talked about in terms of Insta, Snap, TikTok, Facebook for those who might be just a little bit older. So these are ways that you can reach individuals. I think you have a great idea what advertising is. I'm not going to go much into this, but just know there's different mediums that you can have here to reach people. But just remember, as we talked about a few slides ago, we have to be consistent through the messaging, no matter through broadcast TV to the internet. Everything has to be consistent. All right, sales promotion. You can look at this as how we're trying to get people to come to the store. Maybe it's a slow time of year and we want people to come in. So maybe we get 15% off, we have 20% off, or maybe we have 1-day sales. So these are types of sales promotions that you could use to generate revenue. In regard to consumer promotion, these are, maybe you can send something to a customer through text. Panera is really good at this. They will send me a text saying, hey, today only you can save 50% on a second salad. You buy one full price, get the 1 second half off. Okay, great. Or, they may send, hey, get a cup of soup and get a sandwich free. Something along those lines. So they're trying to get the consumer to come in and say, hey, I got this thing on my phone. I'd like to get this. That's consumer promotion. Publicity is basically where you can get free media attention. Now you can say that there's the old statement that no publicity is bad publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity. Yeah, no. Some things can really backfire. For example, years ago when Wendy's had their chili and someone said they claimed to find a finger in the chili. Well, that was kind of bad. That was kind of bad publicity. And that ruined chili for Wendy's for quite some time. And just before what happened with that story, there was a person in Las Vegas who claimed that if she found a fingertip in the chili. So Wendy's pulled all their chili, made headlines, national news. What had happened? The woman had lost her fingertip prior to going to Wendy's. She put her fingertip into the chili, claiming it was somebody else's and found the chili. So that was kind of some bad publicity. Good publicity is if you sponsor something, maybe like some at Children's Hospital, or some sort of sustainability drive. That's good publicity that can help bring your name out. All example of this too is like Dawn dish soap. When there's oil spills, Dawn will send out a crew with the Dawn dish soap and they try to clean the animals. That's good publicity. All right, so the sales process itself is prospecting, trying to figure out who we're going to go to, prepare something that would interest them, have your presentation. And this presentation is one thing, just a side note. Whenever you get a chance, and I talked about this back in chapter 5, speak whenever you can. All right. You're going to be judged more in a spoken word than written word. I said that a few weeks ago, I'm saying that now. So anytime that you have a chance to speak, whether it's a conversation or one-on-one, if it's to speak in front of a group, a large group, small group, whatever the case may be, take it, because you're going to be judged by this. A person is not going to buy something on a flyer that you give them. They will buy something that you had talked to them about. Have you showed interest or had them generate interest? Okay, so that's what I'm saying with that. I know I'm going a little long with that. All right. And then the follow up, of course, you give your product, you give your speech, follow up, give them an email, give them a call, however they want to be contacted, and follow up if they like the product or not, or if they're interested. All right. So just some of the stuff we talked about here. We've talked about the product life cycle. We've talked about the target market or target audience in chapter 11. It is such a competitive environment. Not only are you trying to sell something, your competitors trying to sell something, you're trying to sell to the same demographic, to the same group, something very similar product. You got to figure out a way to differentiate yourself. And you do that by telling them through marketing what makes your product unique and how they would feel about buying your product. Okay. So that is the spiel for chapter 12. I hope you enjoyed it. If there, again, anytime there's any questions, please reach out and I will see you in chapter 13. You have yourselves a great day and I will see you in the next chapter. Bye.